This video is brought to you by Artistworks. Artistworks are part of TrueFire Studios, and they offer direct access to master musicians through their innovative online learning platform. Partnering with iconic musicians, they've crafted decades of industry experience into guided paths of online lessons. Crucially, there's an option to get personal feedback tailored specific to your playing via their unique video exchange. Get direct guidance towards your playing goals. You can use the code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of Artistworks courses. So, Anderton's actually reached out to me, or they sent me a message on Instagram, let's not use the ugly words, and just asked if I'd be okay if they reposted some of my Sire videos because they're trying to, you know, let more people know about Sire. I think Sire guitars have sort of become, you know, quite well known for being really decent guitars at this price range, and Epiphone have really stepped up their game as well. So I want to grab an Epiphone shortly just to compare. But yeah, they basically sent me a t-shirt and this guitar, which is nice of them. There will be an affiliate link at some point, but what it doesn't change is that I can give an honest opinion on these things and share up close and personal what's going on with these things, so that you can get a fair idea rather than someone who's possibly being paid to demo these things, or, you know, show you the good things and not some of the bad. So I'm not sure if you're going to see this up close. The fretboard looks pretty dry, but the binding's pretty tidy. I'm liking the body. The weight is pretty good. That burst looks quite strange, but the main thing that I like about these guitars is the playability. So let's see what that's like. There's some flex in the paint. Oh, that's not paint. But yeah, I'll give it a try. This is the second of these that I've tried, actually. The H7V. I really like the first. Rob Harris from Jamiroquai is actually playing that one now. But let's just see what it's like. I might. The frets feel amazing, or the neck, as always. And as tends to be the case, this nut looks a little bit high. I think this is a rosewood fretboard. The older models had ebony, but Larry wanted that change because he uses rosewood fretboards. So this again has impressed me, and as always with these Sire guitars, the one thing that mainly jumps out to me is that out of the box, the playability really works for me quite nicely. Now, I'm not a person who wants super low action, but what I do want is like a neck that feels comfortable. I want it to intonate well, and I don't want to be like fighting the guitar and feeling like I've got this kind of, I don't know, roughness within my hands. And that's something that I think Sire gets right really consistently. I think I've played about 10 of them at this point. I've bought a bunch of them. I got sent a few. And, you know, I've since sent most of those on to other people. So John has had a couple over in Spain. I sent the other one of these to Rob Harris from Jamiroquai, just to, you know, I don't need all these guitars in the house. So some of them I've sold as well, and the ones that I've bought. So it's just, you know, interesting to me to try a decent sample size of these guitars. So I feel like I have a fairly good idea of what to expect with them now. And generally that will be that out of the box, the frets won't have the most polished feel, but the more you play it, that kind of starts to go away, and you start to get a little bit of like greyness on your fingers, where essentially the strings are polishing the frets as you go. So make sure to shred on them in a maximal amount. And then the other thing that I'd be relatively expectant of would be a fairly high cut nut, sort of like a boxy look to it, a little bit different to what you get with a more expensive guitar. The nuts on these are, they're not problematic, but they are cut higher than a traditional kind of Gibson or Tokai or something like that might do. And then the very last thing is that the finishing might not be the top of the tree. So for instance, the burst on this looks quite strange. And then if you get up the nitty gritty, you might find like where the neck joint is, the binding and stuff, there might be like a few marks, or you might see the odd bit of pitting within the binding. This one's not too bad. This one here, potentially a little bit of a dry fretboard, but I think that's gonna, if I stick some beeswax on it, it'll be absolutely fine. But again, the expectation for me is generally that I could pick up one of these out of the box, and this has been the case, and go and gig them. I did that with the S7 vintage. I took that one out to a gig. You know, decent guitars.
The question I wanted to ask was maybe around, can I think of anything, or can you as well think of anything at this price point that beats it? So the one thing that first came to mind for me was the Epiphone ES335, very comparable in price, and I've actually got a video on that coming later. So Epiphone might be one choice. I think Hagstrom are relatively well-respected guitars around similar price range. Ibanez makes some semi-hollow stuff, which I think is pretty good. I've owned at least one of their higher-end models of that, but typically I don't get on with their neck shapes on the Ibanez quite so well. Then the one thing that I kind of did think of was the PRS hollow body. Now, it's not exactly as traditional as this, but the PRS hollow body is around a similar price to these, and based on the PRS SE DGT that I've got, I'd say that kind of nailed both the playability aspects and the finish aspects, so it might have a bit of an edge on the Sire, although of course it's not, you know, a typical ES335, so that might be an option. I'd love to know your thoughts if you've got other kind of companies around this kind of price range that are doing really good stuff. The thing I was chatting to Chris on Instagram about, and we were asking, like, it seems there's like two fairly distinct windows where you can get really good playing guitars for around £600 or whatever, and then there's like quite a big gap, and say something like a Tokai where it really is like a step above, I think, in quality and in terms of craftsmanship and stuff. Those are maybe like 1,500 or 1,800. You get like a big sudden jump, and then there's not too much in that kind of between price ranges. It's a bit strange. Someone like Eastman, which again, you know, probably twice the price at least of one of these, but I think we probably mostly agree that would be like a big jump up in quality, but you necessarily get a big jump up in price. FGN makes some 335 types, but again, they're like 1,800-ish. So if you've got any thoughts on that, I'd love to know your opinions. Ones that you've tried that you really like. I had a Giangelico. The neck on that was a bit skinny for me. That was a Deluxe SS. So again, I think that's like 1,800-ish pounds, made in Korea. They do have a range which is slightly cheaper, right? I think the XL range. So D'Angelico might be one if you get on with the neck shape, and they, on their higher end models, do put in some really nice pickups. I think Seth lovers. But yeah, that was just a question really. Like, I think probably at this price range, I think Sire are making the best stuff, but possibly that PRS hollow body might be a competitor. And definitely, I think, take a look at some Epiphones. I'm going to do a comparison video later, maybe next week, between this and an Epiphone ES335. And I think if you play a couple of different examples, you might find one that works better for you. This weighs 8 pounds and 5 ounces. Really nice fretwork, plays really beautifully. And that was the main thing that I was kind of, yeah, I sat down and kind of didn't really stop playing for a couple of hours. So that's a really nice thing. And definitely I could gig this thing, no problem. So yeah, another great guitar from Sire. And this is basically what I've come to expect from them now, that they might not be perfect, but they're going to play really well and are basically ready to play out of the box for me, as someone who doesn't have super low action. If you're a super low action person, I think you might need some attention from a tech or something like that. I've read some other folks with those kind of things required when they've got a Sire. So yeah, if you're a little bit more particular than me, you might want to factor in the price of a tech, but let me know your thoughts. I can't think of that kind of midway point between this and something like a Tokai or Eastman. There doesn't really seem to be too much, right? Let me know your thoughts. I was using Helix for the intro. I think Dumb Good Tone and Eric Lead and stuff like that. Jump into the Gumroad if you want to try those presets. Cheers. Oh, Match Lit, I think, for the clean.